guys, how are we doing? Sorry my video yesterday got up kind of late. I started uploading it yesterday because my goal is always to get a video up every single day, and then it just didn't upload until after I went to bed. So maybe if you're up at 1 a.m. you got a new video. Beside the point, welcome to another video. Today I wanted to kind of expand on the conversation about being chronically single and not experiencing romantic attention in your youth. And I wanted to open up about some of my dating anxiety and what I kind of think has been like the lingering impact of growing up with that sort of childhood or going, I don't know, like entering adulthood with it from that sort of childhood and entering like the adult romantic world. Do I look really hunched over? Sorry. But I feel like I talked about like in my my how I stopped hating being a lesbian video. I gave some context. I think it's like what my first romantic experiences were. But largely speaking, I also would say, I think this kind of gives a little bit of context, that I have had really, I am somewhere on the avoidant like attachment style spectrum. I debate between if I'm like fearful avoidant or dismissive avoidant. If you're into attachment theory, then I don't know, maybe that's interesting for you to hear, but I don't know where I am exactly, but I definitely feel like I rotate somewhere there. So for a long time, like I was very, very comfortable. I've always been comfortable generally being alone, being single. Like that's never been something that's like particularly bothered me. And I think it's just because I just didn't really have like very many opportunities, I guess, for that to change. Like I wasn't someone who's like flirting quite a bit. I think I probably got on dating apps for the first time. Actually, I got on Bumble BFF, and then I like got through that app or through Bumble BFF, got on like regular Bumble, because I think you can like make a profile. I don't know if the profile was the same or something. And then so I was just able to kind of like easily go over to the dating side of the app and like see what was going on, what was cracking over there. I mean, I have to be honest, there was definitely an element of like curiosity and like trying to see if a romantic experience had happened for me. How old would I have been? Maybe 2023. I would have been like maybe 18 or 2024 or something. At that time, I think I had my profile sent to men and women, and honestly, my like prominent experiences was just like going on the app with my cousin, and we would just like look at the different profiles together and giggle about, I don't know, like sometimes you get really silly profiles on there, and it sounds mean, but I think we were just like like why does this profile only have like cat photos up or something and like no bio or whatever. So that was really my experience. I didn't meet with anyone. I don't think I even really matched with people, but I started doing that, and I think it was just coming from a place of like being curious about having a romantic experience, but like not really feeling like it was truly viable for me, and also at the same time not being like super like someone who's like fiending for romantic attention. And then I did start to have romantic experiences, and like last year, and this is when I started to realize that I am like a deeply, like I have a lot of dating anxiety that I was very suppressed, that I didn't quite understand. And so I was kind of just giving that context. Like I got on the dating apps, but I wasn't really meeting anyone, and those felt fine. And I also was not someone who had a lot of crushes. Honestly, for most of my life, actually, I don't think I've ever been like someone who's kind of always fixated on somebody. Although I think that's actually quite normal, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And so I didn't have a lot of crushes. I didn't have like a lot of like romantic attention that I was like playing with throughout my life. Just kind of setting the scene, kind of giving you whatever the context there was before I started dating, because I think like I've talked about it a little bit in other videos. I started dating, or I had like my first romantic entanglement, I guess, last year, and I ended up having awful anxiety the entire time that I was engaging with that person. The very first time that I saw him, first date story time, I was, we were meeting at a, I don't even remember. We were meeting in like a parking lot, and then we were gonna walk somewhere. And, well, actually, let me even zoom out. The day before the date, was like the day that we were actually supposed to meet. So like we planned the date for like a Saturday or something. I'm driving over, and I start to feel like really unwell, and I was like, what's going on? And I remember that I'd had, what was it? What's that restaurant called? Rubio's. I had Rubio's the day before. The first time in years I had Rubio's. And Rubio's, obviously, like, I think if you know, I mean, they mainly sell like fish. I think that's kind of what they're known for. And I'm a vegetarian, so I was thinking like, okay, like maybe it's just been a long time since I've obviously had meat. Maybe something was like cooked together or whatever, and I accidentally had some meat or whatever That might be why I'm feeling unwell right now. Thought I could push past it, could not push past it, was feeling incredibly unwell. So I ended up going I get to the date, I get to where we're gonna meet, but I'm just feeling like really, really unwell, and I was like, I can't do this. And so I ended up texting him. I think I was just mainly fearing like, I don't know, that I was like, I'm not gonna be able to like last through the date. So I texted him and I just told him that I had, what did I say? I said my period came. I was like, yeah, I'm on my period. Like, I get really nauseous on my period. I'm sorry, I'm like really not feeling well. Like, my period came early or something. Like, I just gave like a period excuse. He was like, oh, like, that's fine, no problem. And, you know, we'll meet tomorrow. And I was like, okay, cool. Tomorrow comes, I wake up, I'm still feeling really, really unwell and wasn't able to have any meals. I went and I got like Pepto-Bismol. I was like trying to like calm myself down. I'm just thinking, dang, like maybe those Rubios would really, really mess me up. So I went and like, mind you, I'm just like dry heaving all over the place and feeling really, really sick. And so I go to, so the date is like happening, I don't know, like at noon or whatever. And I'm talking to my sister and I was like, you have to drive me. Like I can't, like I'm feeling so unwell. My sister, shout out to my sister, ends up driving me to like where we were gonna meet. And mind you, like it was kind of far from where we live. That was one thing. Listen, just also piece of advice, like please actually, if you're, I mean, honestly, at any point in your dating journey, listen to me, do not drive very far to meet people. Like, anything that you consider to be a lot of driving, probably give yourself like an actual time, because an actual amount, whether it's mileage or time on the road or whatever, that you're like, I will not drive more than this amount to see someone. Because I feel like I did so much driving to specifically see him, and whatever. And it's just like in this context, with how much gas is, girl, like you cannot be filling up a gas tank and driving more than like, personally, I think my numbers maybe like 20 minutes. And he knew. I think it was like the last time I ever saw him that I was like, not the last time I saw him, but like there was something I needed him to drop off to me, and I was like, you need to drive to my house and bring it because I'm like, so over driving to see you, and whatever. But it was, I guess in my head I justified it because like he lived very close to where we went to school because we met at school. So I was like, oh well, I have to drive to school anyway, so like it doesn't really make a big deal, which actually was true. So like for a lot of the time, it wasn't like I was driving to see him, I was driving to go to school, and then I just like would happen to see him after school. Beside the point, have driving boundaries. So I was like, I asked my sister and I was like, can you drive me? She took me, and I get there, I get to the date, and I am in the car. We got there like a couple minutes before he did. I get out of the car because I'm feeling really unwell, and I was like, okay, let me just like try to get some fresh air, walk around a little bit, like before he shows up. And I get out of the car, and then I'm just standing around for a second, and then his car pulls up. I don't know how I knew his car, but I did. And I saw him in the car. And then immediately upon laying eyes on him, which like, I don't think he saw me at that point because I just saw him in the car, I projectile vomit. And then he pulls up his car in the parking lot next to me, and like next to my vomit, and I throw up again when he gets out of the car. He obviously watches all of this happen, He has to walk past my vomit. And I didn't know what to do. My sister's there. She just hears me throwing up. She's still in the car. He just was very like, honestly, in my memory, very unfazed at what had happened. And he was like, yeah, you're good. And I was like, sure, I guess. I did feel better actually after throwing up. And I got my stuff out of my sister's car. And then we went and we hung out, and we went to like I think it was called like a rooftop bar, but it was actually a really cute spot. I should go again. But yeah, we just like chatted for a couple hours. And I remember I was like, I can't eat anything, like, because at that point, I still don't know why I threw up. Also, I don't know if I made this clear enough. I was not on my period. That was a lie. Wait one second. Okay, we're back. So I don't know if it was clear enough, but I was not on my period. Like I was just saying something that, because I think I just didn't want to say. Well, I think actually I ended up saying like, oh yeah, I had Rubios, and so I told him that, but I think at first I didn't want to say something like that or whatever, because I was like, oh, that's gross. But told him that, and I think because he thought that I was just like on my period or something, I think that's why he didn't really care, or like it didn't really bother him that I was like sick. And so I don't know, whatever, it was fine. So fast forward, we have the date, and then, man, I really should probably make like a whole designated story time to that whole experience with him, because that was crazy. Maybe I still will. But I ended up seeing him again Actually, I'll give the Cliff Notes version of the story because I actually do think I'll give like a designated story time to this. I see him again, and because that would have been like a Sunday. We had class together on Tuesday. I remember there was like a day in between. So I decided that I was gonna tell him that I like didn't want to go on another date on that Tuesday when I saw him again. And I remember our class started at like 1. It was like right after most people would go to the cafeteria for lunch. And so I was in the cafeteria. I ate my lunch. I brought food. I was feeling fine. And then I was in the cafeteria talking to one of my friends. He walks in. I see him immediately vomit again. That proceeded to be the case every single time I saw this man. It was like the last month of the semester, and I would see him like twice a week maybe, and I would throw up every single time I saw this man. And it was something that, it got to the point that the only time I could get myself to not throw up is if I just did not eat all day. So if we made plans to see each other, we're gonna go to the movies at 6. Baby girl, I'm just not eating until I see this man at 6. And then I would see him, hang out, leave, and then eat a bunch of food because I'm starving. And so that was I think I had lost like 10, 15 pounds that month that I was talking to him, because it was just like, girl, I was fasting. And it wasn't even just like, because I didn't see him that many times, but like the days in between, I think I also just had kind of like lingering anxiety. And that's the thing, that's what it was. I had anxiety, and I didn't know that I had anxiety. And I didn't know that that's what was happening, that the response my body was having. It took it happening a couple times, and for me to realize, oh my God, like this is the trigger, seeing this man is the trigger, for me to realize, oh my God, I have anxiety, and like that's what my body's responding to. And so for a long time I felt, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I had that experience with him, and then time was on, and generally I've always been someone who does get a little bit nauseous in anxiety-inducing situations, but I feel like for some reason, like that was like the catalyst. And then I had a bunch of other experiences that were like not relating to romance at all, that I just started to like have really strong nausea responses in relationship to. And so, but I found that romance was 100% like the biggest trigger. So, it got to the point that if someone had a crush on me, like admitted to being romantically interested in me, if I was going to see someone who I had a crush on, I was throwing up. That was something that happened earlier this year, where I started crushing on someone who I went to school with. And thank God that class I had like, I don't even want to give details. I'm like paranoid that she's gonna find this. I don't think she'd find this video. But it was set up in a way where like, if I didn't have to, like not eating before, which has become my mode of action, became easier if I just like with her, because like of details that I don't want to share, because I'm nervous, even though there's like literally like a 0.01% chance that she would find this video, and even though that it was about her, beside the point. But that was like my approach to like dealing with that situation. I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna eat before I see you, because I would literally be walking to class and I'm gonna throw up. And I threw up a few times. I threw up if I ate. And so, yeah, so that started, so then I got to the point where like, this wasn't just happening if I went on a date, it was happening if I saw a crush. It was happening if somebody who like I knew was romantically interested in me was seeing me. And then, so for a long time, specifically after I had that romantic experience with the man last year, which was like happened pretty early in the year, and then I didn't start dating girls until the beginning of this year. I honestly chalked all of that up to, I just don't like men, and like that's what it was about. Like that's the way I processed it, and that's why I explained it to people, and that made sense to me until I started dating girls, and I started to have also a very, very strong anxiety response. I don't want to like go into the specific stories there. Maybe I will one day, just because I had a lot of really positive experiences, and I think it's difficult for people to kind of hold in their mind that something could have been a very, very positive experience and also could have been very anxiety inducing. And so I don't know, I think I want to make maybe a designated video to it if it feels necessary to like explain, but just broadly speaking, I definitely started to have really strong anxiety responses that did manifest as nausea when I would be even romantically engaging with women, even though I was dealing with girls that I was very into, that I felt very safe with, that I felt really attracted to, and it was still there. And so it got to the point where I had to rethink it. It wasn't necessarily just this like being a lesbian thing then that's like giving me anxiety, giving me romantic anxiety. And that's where I think understanding it through the lens of like my chronic singleness started to make sense. That I not only am someone who I think, you know, I have been chronically single, perpetually single my whole life. I also have just been someone who just, broadly speaking, didn't have like a lot of, I mean, I had good friendships and stuff growing up, but like I spent a lot of like high school in particular pretty solitary. It was pretty solitary. Am I using that word right? I wasn't with people a lot for those years of my life. And going to community college was really a process of me having to reintroduce myself to engaging with people regularly. When I started going to community college and also when I started working. And so I think that there was just an element of like romance, people in general are already a new terrain for me. Like once I turned like 18, I got a job at McDonald's, and then I got a job at a steakhouse, and then I was working various places. And then I started going to community college. Like, people were just new. Being around people was a new concept for me. And then on top of that, now we have romance, which I'd never engaged with. And I obviously had a lot of pent up feelings about anxiety and difficulty accepting myself. And so dating and being around people in a romantic context was very, very difficult. And so I was having these really strong anxiety responses. And it's something that I've not really solved. I mean, I'm reporting live, boots on the ground, still dealing with this problem. I think I have technically a social anxiety diagnosis that I have medication for. I don't take a daily medication. I was prescribed Lexapro, but I just didn't really feel comfortable taking it. Just because like my anxiety is so romance oriented. It's so romance oriented that it didn't really make sense to me to take it when I like, because I'm not like having romantic experiences every day. So I just have like an as needed medication that I take whenever I'm kind of going on a date or a romantic fling is like kind of entering my life. And so I wanted to kind of bring this up in conjunction with like conversations around like chronic singleness, because I think that we don't always acknowledge the full context of what can happen to a person when something like romance is postponed or roped off or anything like that. And then it ends up becoming a site of intense anxiety and difficulty and pain, emotional pain, because it's so foreign, because it's so complicated. There's so many questions surrounding it. I think a lot of my, and I will say, actually, I do think, as much as I'm saying, like, I do experience romantic anxiety with women, it is different. I think, like, there was a time where the more dates I go on with the same person, the less it happens, the less the anxiety really goes down. And also the more, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, continuous time that I spend with a person. Because I find that my anxiety really peaks when I'm see someone and then like we separate, and then it's like the next time I'm gonna see that person is when it's gonna like be at its highest. There's something about this sort of like anticipation anxiety of like, I think I feel a huge pressure around, sorry this is so extreme of consciousness, this is kind of, it's a vulnerable thing for me to talk about because it's embarrassing, but I mean, it's been in my head that I wanted to have this conversation. Because also, I don't know anyone else who has this problem, and I would like to believe that I'm not the only person who deals with this. But I would say that for me, the biggest piece that comes into like my mind when this is occurring for me is like performance anxiety, where a lot of the time, like, I can want relationships and want emotional intimacy and romance in theory. The millisecond it becomes real, viable, tangible, it is a living, breathing creature in front of me, I want to run and flee for the mountaintops. I want to call my local governing body and say that I am an American citizen in danger, that I'm in need of protection. I feel very afraid. I get very scared. And I have tried to psychoanalyze myself many a times to figure out like where this is coming from and like what it is. And, you know, it's like what I said of like just not having a lot of experiences, and this feeling like every single time. It's happened to me fairly recently where I was like, had a little bit of a flirty banter, and immediately I get very anxious, even though this was someone who I kind of initiated this banter with because I was like interested in this individual. And my response is like very like, I feel like there's a way of engaging that I'm not capable of showing up to. So there is a certain kind of like romantic banter, the way that people flirt with a lot of ease, and the way that people plan a date with a lot of ease, and just engage generally in romantic connections, romantic exchanges really easily, that I feel like for me require a lot of planning and hyping myself up, psyching myself up, breath work and affirmations galore. I have to involve my sister quite often. This is also the reason I hate texting, because I think that texting then ends up becoming like a huge site of like this sort of anxiety for me, because I'm like, I need to know the right thing to say, and because it's texting, there's a lot of time that you can give yourself to think about it. So I had to like, a lot of the time I'll go to my sister and I'm like, oh, this person said this, what do I say? And the anxiety just ends up becoming really significant for me, and it's just like kind of feeling fundamentally like there is something wrong with me, and that I don't know how to engage, I don't know how to say the right thing, I don't know how to like be romantic. I hope you don't hear him in the background, my cat is here. I don't know how to be romantic, I don't know how to engage romantically like a normal person. I don't know how to like, you know, like I think the way that you might have, if you're someone who's used to dating and used to going on dates and whatever, you sort of have the expectation like, oh, we're gonna go on a date and it's gonna be fine, and like you're gonna, why would this be super anxiety inducing? Obviously there's nerves, and everyone gets nervous for the most part on a first date, but like you'll be fine. Like you're not you know, vomiting into a bush. And it's like I actually am vomiting into a bush. I'm very much vomiting into a bush. There are bushes. There are, if I told you all the places I've thrown up in public, you would be very afraid of me. And so I think it's just this feeling of like, sorry, that there is a certain level of expectation that you're gonna be able to engage normally, and I know that I can't do it. And so it's something that really, really embarrasses me, and something that I think I end up feeling a lot of shame over. And I don't quite know, I guess, what to do about that, other than that that's been my current problem. And I have solutions, and I know that like a big part for me is probably just going to have to be like repeated exposure. And also the understanding that as much as I would like to have a lot of casual romantic experiences, I think it's a very difficult thing for me to experience because of the fact that I have this really strong anxiety response. And that I'm someone who probably has to like date a bit in like a domesticated way, or I have to pursue like commitment to a degree that I don't necessarily even feel the need that feel like I want, you know? Like I'm very open. Like I understand the concept of like you're young and like I'm young and like I need like romantic, I need like many experiences, you know? Like when you're young, you don't really know what you want or like what you're doing and stuff, and you figure those things out through like having many experiences. I know that. And so it's like I want to give myself like many experiences, but I'm also very aware that like it's very difficult for me to like attach to people or like psych myself up enough to put myself in a position where I can get to know someone and then deal with the anxiety that's like definitely at its peak when we're first meeting, and then like, you know, do that enough until the anxiety subsides, and then just like rinse and repeat. Like that's really hard. So I think there's an element that I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to be the kind of person who can't really do things casually, which is really disappointing in me, really disappointing to me. And so, you know, I'm moving for school, and I kind of told myself that I'm probably not going to date seriously until I move, because I think that like being in a new place, a different context is going to like help me to, I think it'll like give me time and space to take my time with people, and also to do things in person. I feel like I oftentimes tend to like attract long distance entanglements because they like make it so that I don't really have to like confront the anxiety. So, yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna wind up doing, but I don't even know how connected. I woke up this morning and I was like, I want to talk more about like being chronically single and like the impacts that it has on you. But then I don't even know if we just ended up going in a completely different direction. I do hope it was useful, and if this is something you have experience with and advice on, I would really appreciate that. I think that's it. I just want to say that it's hard to be chronically single in this world, and I think it's something that, like, as much as we kind of like badmouth, I think people who, it's easy to kind of just like turn around and just be like, oh, this is like loser, and just, why didn't you have these experiences? Or it's not a big deal. Saying like having these romantic experiences in your youth is not a big deal. At the end, you're not going to meet you're not going to marry the person that you go to homecoming with in the 11th grade. That is true. That is true. And that's a good thing, I would say, actually. But when you don't expose yourself to that world and expose yourself to that internal experience of being attracted to a person, then I think it becomes harder and harder to deal with and harder to process. So that you do wind up being an adult, someone like me, who loses your everlasting mind every time you're in a romantic context, because it's all so foreign. But we Gucci, we good. Anyway, I'm proud of myself. Today's the 20th, and my cat, I think my dog is here. Today's the 20th, and we're still strong, posting every single day. He's breaking in. Bye, guys.